Morning, Matthew at Maddie's. What we have to start this morning, actually I diagnosed this last night, but fairly simple one, pretty straightforward. But again, uh, this is about finding a quality technician, quality shop, somebody that does their due diligence. This customer presented with a security issue. Customer had scanned it at some point, had a P1626. This is a 2001 GMC Sierra with the 5.3. Really familiar with these trucks. I've driven them for years. But security issue. Went to go start it. Vehicle would cut the fuel, it'd start and run for a second, then snub right out. There was that code in there. Obviously the customer, again, I get a lot of do-it-yourselfers. Customer was aware of the code, I think, in the security issue, and they were trying to chase down what was going on. Well, I give them props because they were in by the column, the ignition switch and everything else, checking out wiring and whatnot. But this issue turned out to be pretty simple. So I got this thing towed in, got the battery charged up, and what we found was, and I don't know if everybody's going to be able to see that, but we had this fuse, which it kind of looks a little funky, but looks like it's intact, but you can see some white crusty stuff in there inside with the light. This thing did have continuity. It had 6.7 ohms, was kind of a high inconsistent reading. A fuse when hooked up to a multimeter, and this is some information for people out there. A fuse obviously should be like a wire, so it should be 0.3, 0.2, 0.1 ohms, point, meaning it's got good continuity. That one had continuity, wasn't enough to freak out the other modules like a lost communication, but the point is, I immediately, when I got that, I pulled up that code in Identifix, and I immediately went to the wiring diagram here. There were a lot of threads in Identifix on this older truck with regards to the BCM. That's the body control module. I believe there is a password. I'd have to look description operation up, but I believe there's a password when you turn the key that's traded between the BCM and the PCM to verify if this thing should start. If something's wrong there, it's obviously on this type of truck is going to cut the fuel off and not allow it to start or not allow it to run. And basically what we had here, again, back to the diagrams that I get and everything, we look up, so I was looking initially for the power feeds to the BCM. So we have the body control module here, and then we have the power feeds. Well, there's 3 fuses that feed that, and the manufacturers don't always make it specific, like BCM power or something like that. The fuse in the junction block or the underhood fuse block was the TBC, Tom Baker Charlie fuse, and it's a 10 amp fuse. And then there's also fuses in the fuse block inside the vehicle, which would be ignition 1 and then the cruise control fuse. Those 3 fuses basically feed the BCM power to power everything up on the truck. Well, when I looked at the TBC fuse, which is in the corner here, you can see this white crusty substance on the fuse block. You can tell water's been getting in there right at the corner, even though that thing has a lid. And I'm pretty sure this fuse got a little corroded internally. Had high resistance, and then was enough to basically take one of the power feeds away from the BCM and then create a security code. So called this customer last night. As soon as I popped a new fuse in it, heard the horn beep, BCM obviously came fully back online, and guess what? Truck starts and runs. So a lot of times it's about looking at diagrams. It's about fuses should be the number one thing you're checking on a vehicle, and it should be something you're looking at and verifying before you go any further, because it could be as simple as a fuse causing a code and causing a whole bunch of problems. And then back to the O'Reilly's Veriscan and whatever else is out there, just scanning a vehicle for codes. A code doesn't always tell you what's wrong with the vehicle. There is no specific code that's going to come up for the TBC fuse or a fuse to the power feed to the BCM, especially on something older like this. So it's about finding a professional, finding somebody that does their due diligence, has the experience, knows what they're looking for. Real simple fix on this truck, and this guy is happy. And now we get to go through and check out the rest of the vehicle, and if there's anything else we can find. We saved him a shit ton of money when it came to diagnostics, because it didn't turn out to be anything wiring or anything in the ignition switch. Simple as a fuse. So it is 5:30 in the morning here. I know the competition's still sleeping out there, but nope, here Maddie is taking care of business. We have got a shit ton of stuff to do today, so make it a great Wednesday.